Today we're discussing cognitive factors in learning. First, we have latent learning. Latent learning is one kind of cognitive learning, and that type of learning remains hidden until it's needed. For example, how do you know where objects are in your home, in your school, or in your neighborhood? Because you probably have a mental picture of it or a cognitive map of the area. Second, we have observational learning. Observational learning is when people acquire knowledge and skills by observing and imitating others. And they have two examples: modeling and the effects of media violence. Modeling is basically a type of imitation. A person will observe a certain behavior and later will be able to produce it. For example, suppose you are a new student in a class, you might model your behavior after other students. Like you might learn that it is acceptable to speak up in class by watching other students do it. In learning that classroom discussion is encouraged, you'd have demonstrated the ability to learn by a process known as vicarious reinforcement. Also, children learn to speak, eat, and play also by observing their parents and others do these things. One example of observational learning and its effects has to do with media violence. Television is one of our major sources of informal observational learning, and children are routinely exposed to scenes of violence just by turning on the TV set. If a child watches 2 to 4 hours of TV a day, she or he will have seen 8,000 murders and another 100,000 acts of violence by the time they are finished with elementary school. Media violence applies models of aggressive skills which children may learn by watching. Children who see a lot of violence are more likely to view violence as an effective and acceptable way of settling personal conflicts. Viewing violence can lead to emotional desensitization toward violence in real life. Just as observational learning may contribute to violent behavior, it may also be used to prevent it. Television networks have recently made some attempts to limit the amount of violence in programs intended for children. A person who has observed the behavior in others does not necessarily begin to display what people learn or what they do. Of all children who are exposed to media violence, only a few become of them become violent. If young people consider violence wrong for them, they will probably not be violent, even if they know how to be violent, and the same applies to other behaviors as well. We have next behavior modification. Behavior modification, the principles of cognitive learning, can be used to change or modify people's behavior. They have used following the principles: encourage classroom discipline, create token economies, or use personal contracts. First, we have classroom discipline. Sometimes when we think we are reinforcing one behavior, we're actually unknowingly reinforcing the opposite behavior. For example, teachers who pay attention to students who misbehave may unintentionally give these students greater status in the eyes of some of their classmates. Teachers are taught to pay attention to students who are behaving appropriately, ignoring misbehavior that is not harmful to themselves or to others, and when the misbehavior is ignored, it should become extinct. Second, we have token economies. In token economies, people are paid to act correctly by earning rewards such as points, plastic chips, or other tokens that can be cashed for treats, merchandise, or privileges that individuals want, and as a result, they will stop doing a certain behavior or they might begin to perform a desired behavior. Lastly, we have personal contracts. It is also possible to set up your own behavior modification program by using a personal contract. First, you need to identify the behavior that you want to change. Next, set a goal for a new behavior. And finally, create a system of rewards and punishments to to encourage that new behavior. Thank you for your time.